This is After the Gridiron, a podcast featuring interviews with retired football players. If you're a fan of After the Gridiron, make sure you subscribe to the show to ensure that you won't miss an episode. Today's episode is sponsored by Symphonies. Symphonies is an online store that provides custom clothing and accessories. They have a number of quality products available at affordable prices. They offer custom, unique, funny, and inspirational products that you won't find anywhere else. So go to www.symphonies.ca to shop for your next purchase. And as a special offer for our listeners, enter promo code GRIDIRON to get 15% off your purchase. So there's no excuse not to check it out. Again, that's www.symphonies.ca. Symphonies. Great products, great prices. Hello everyone and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Lyle Green. And today's guest is one of the greats of the NFL, Karl Mecklenburg. Karl played 12 years in the NFL, all with the Denver Broncos. He was a 12th round pick in the famous 1983 college draft, the draft that produced John Elway and Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, and all that great quarterback class of 83. Karl was a little bit later. He was drafted in the 12th round by the Broncos, close to the Mr. Irrelevant spot, but still ended up having an amazing career. He played collegiately at the University of Minnesota, and he became a 6-time Pro Bowler with the Broncos, and also 4-time first-team All-Pro, and is now in the Broncos Ring of Honor. So it's a great privilege to have Karl Mecklenburg on the show today. So Karl, thank you for coming on, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lyle. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, that's great. So to get started, Karl, can you tell us something about you that most people would not know about you?
Wow, I'm interesting. I guess probably the thing that people are surprised about me is that I was a pre-med major in college. I was going to be a doctor.
Oh,
my
wow.
dad's a doctor. I took the entrance exam. I was ready to go to medical school, made the team, and became a patient instead.
Yeah. You're on the other
right.
end of the knife. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, cool. That's cool. That's interesting. Okay, so we'll go back to the beginning of how you got started in football. I know a lot of people get started at different times. Some are Prop Warner, some later on, maybe high school. What was it for you?
I was 10 years old. I started right away. My parents really thought it was important to get me involved in all kinds of parkboard stuff. I played baseball. I played hockey. I was the hockey goalie. You know, you're the big kid. You can carry the pads home. I was the hockey goalie. Yeah, I was actually
nice.
Pretty good hockey goalie too. If you ask me when I was in elementary school what my favorite sport was, it would have been hockey.
You've been hockey? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I was a hockey player myself growing up as well. So
Sure. Yeah. So hockey was big for me. And actually, I think there was one of the reasons I was able to make the switch from a defensive lineman to a linebacker as a pro was all that time on the ice as a kid and as a goalie. I mean, the key to playing goalie in hockey is angles. You got to cut off the angles all the time, and that's the same thing as playing linebacker. You got to be decisive. You got to go when it's time to go and play those angles right. So the hockey thing was big for me. I also thought I developed the strength between my thighs and my waist from all that messing around on the ice all the time. Really helped me when they started having me play linebacker, where I had to move laterally a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. And I definitely found as well that playing hockey and other sports in general definitely helps in football, with especially with hockey, with the sideways pushes and lateral movements helps with football as a running back, which I was, to move side to side really quickly. So I'm sure it helped you as well as a linebacker.
Yeah, it was a big help. I've got a book out called Heart of a Student Athlete, All Pro Advice for Competitors and Their Families. It's been out for a long time, but folks can still find it on my website. It's that's one of the things I talk about, the value of the cross training, of understanding other sports, of being involved as a kid. That I think kids that are targeted for one sport early on have a real hard time making it past a certain level. They get to a certain level, and the kids that were playing all the different sports go past them. They might understand. Them, yeah. Right, they might understand the rules a little bit better and the real fine points a little bit better early on. But as the years go by, the kids that play the multiple sports do better generally.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think now the days of specialization is definitely hindering the abilities of some kids, and being able to play multiple sports and developing different muscles and different skills in other sports is a definite benefit for sure.
And when you watch the NHL, you can tell the guys that played some soccer, kicking the puck with their skates and behind their back and doing all that, bouncing it off the wall. The guys that played lacrosse and stuff. I mean, you can tell.
Exactly, for sure. You can definitely tell. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about going into college and selecting your college. You played at the University of Minnesota. So can you talk about your recruiting process, and if you're heavily recruited or
Sure, Lyle. I was not heavily recruited. I actually, as a junior in high school, I played junior varsity football. I didn't even make the varsity team.
Oh, wow.
As a senior in high school, I was varsity, and I was all state in Minnesota as a tight end and as a defensive end. But I was only 6 feet tall and 200 pounds. I grew 3 inches and 40 pounds my first year of college. I wasn't big enough to play major college football, so I went to Augustana College in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a little Division II school. I was there for 2 years. After my first year there, I had grown the 3 inches and 40 pounds, and I got really good. My second year there, I led the team in sacks, and I played every down on defense. I was there on a 1/3 scholarship. With the understanding if I played well, they'd give me a full scholarship, and I was the leading sacker and a full-time player. I thought I was going to get that full scholarship, and we had that debriefing session that every coach has at the end of the season where he calls you in and talks about last year and what to expect next year. And he sat me down in his office and said, "Karl, we know your dad's a doctor. You can afford this school. We're going to take away your scholarship and use it to bring somebody else in."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I left Augustana and I walked down at the University of Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
They had recruited me.
Minnesota. Oh, go ahead.
I grew up there. I grew up in Minneapolis. My dad took me to go for games as a kid. So that was something that I was always interested in. Actually, they recruited me coming out of high school, but they signed somebody who they didn't expect to sign early on in the recruiting period, and so then they said I could walk on at Minnesota. So I was angry at them, which is one of the reasons I went to Augustana. Augustana has a real strong pre-med program, so that was kind of why I went there.
Oh, okay.
So when I left there, I went to the University of Minnesota. I got, like I said, I was a walk-on and just the scout team guy. The interesting thing when I got there, Tony Dungy was a graduate assistant working with the walk-on, so Tony was working with me. Yeah. Mike Martz worked in the film room, and
wow.
Mike Shanahan was the offensive coordinator.
No way.
So we had a pretty good coaching staff. We didn't have very many players, but we had a great coaching staff. So it was a good place to be at the time. I learned a lot, and got my first year I was eligible there. I led the Big Ten in sacks, tied with Andre Tippett. And my second year there, which was my final year there, my second year of eligibility, we were so bad that nobody passed the ball. You're behind all the time. They're running the ball. They don't care, right? They're not going to pass if they're way ahead. So I never really rushed the passer much as a senior, and then so the draft came and didn't really catch enough attention because I wasn't rushing the passer.
Didn't really get the chance to put the stats up.
Right, and I wasn't invited to the combine or any of the postseason bowl games or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So how do you end up getting on with Denver? How did they find you?
their first draft pick that year was a guy named Chris Hinton, who was a offensive guard for Northwestern. They ended up trading him and a backup quarterback to get John Elway, but that was who they initially drafted. So they were looking really hard at him, and I ate him alive when we played him in the in the regular season. So they're like, well, this guy's still available. Maybe we should pick him up. So that's how I ended up with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how's your? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so you never know as a young player what's going to catch the other. They may be looking at somebody completely different, but if you flash on film, they're going to look into you.
Exactly. Yeah, film never lies, and if they're looking at other players and see you out there dominating and beating this guy up, and they're like, oh, maybe you should give this guy a try. So definitely, as I say, the eye in the sky doesn't lie. So you always want to put out good film and put out good efforts on the field.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I was fortunate I got drafted by Denver just because, first of all, it's a wonderful place to live, and I spent all 12 years in the NFL here in Denver. I love to hunt and fish and that type of stuff, and there's all kinds of opportunities for that. And we play in the cold a lot. I'm on a outdoor field and playing in the snow. And a lot of guys in the NFL are afraid of the snow, the cold weather. And you see them in the locker room like putting Vaseline and baggies on their feet and all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's like, right. This is what you're just thinking about the cold. I got you already.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
So slap them in the hands once and they're done for the day. That was right. So I was fortunate to be here.
Yeah. So talk about your first the training camp and making the team in Denver and being a part of such a great team. I know you had Mr. John Elway as the highly rated first pick that year. So can you talk about how it was making it your first camp?
Yeah, it was great. It really was. I got to training camp, and it's different than it is now. It was back then. It was full go every practice. 2-a-day practices, and Dan Reeves was kind of a afterthought kind of guy too in his career. He came in and as not as somebody who was supposed to be even make the team and did a good enough job that he caught Tom Landry's eye and made the team. So he was always looking for guys like me who were late round draft picks or free agents that were going to come in and make work hard, make the team. And I got an opportunity. Unfortunately, I tore a ligament in my elbow. I was drafted as a nose guard. I was a defensive tackle at University of Minnesota. They moved me to nose guard because we had a 3-4 system here. And I tore a ligament in my elbow playing nose guard that first, I guess it was the second week of practice. And so they moved me out to defensive end 3 days before our first preseason game. Somehow I got in started the third quarter. I played the whole third quarter against Seattle, and somehow their starting tackle was still in the game. I think he was under punishment or something because he's still playing in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Oh no, not in the first preseason game, and you're a starter.
Yeah.
A guy named Ron Essink was his name, and I got 2 sacks and forced a fumble.
Nice.
Was the defensive player of the game, and John Elway was offensive player of the game. I pretty much made the team at that point. I was a starter on the nickel defense from then on, that was it. I played a couple of years just as a third down pass rusher and a special teams player. My third year, the coaches came to me and asked me to change position.
Yeah.
They wanted me to play linebacker, and I never played linebacker in my life. And as you know, it's a very different position. A lineman's hands on the ground. He's going forward. He doesn't see anything going on in the backfield or anything. He's just reading the line. As a linebacker, you're off the ball. You're up. You got to move laterally. It's a whole different thing. You got to tell that guy who's staring at the ball or the guy lined up across from him when anything changes. So it was an adjustment, but I got my first start the 10th game of that year. Made the Pro Bowl as an all-pro linebacker that year.
Nice.
And I was leading the league in sacks at that time when they voted. So that was Randy Gradishar had retired. Steve Nelson had retired. The guy from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anyway, so all the guys who had ever played inside linebacker and had ever played in the Pro Bowl had all retired in 1 year. So they were looking for somebody. And it's like, he's a good pass rusher. We'll put him.
Just put him in there.
So, right. So I got that opportunity, and things took off from there.
Nice, very nice. So with the Broncos, unfortunately, you didn't get to win a Super Bowl, but you definitely were able to play in a few. Can you talk about the experience of playing in the big game?
Yeah. I got to play in 3 Super Bowls. I look much more fondly on the AFC Championship games than I do on the Super Bowls.
Yeah,
we were an interesting team, truthfully. John obviously was an all-time great player. We had a few guys who were real good players, but we were good because we were a good team. Our leadership, Joe Collier, our defensive coordinator, had us doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I played all 7 defensive front positions. They'd move me around during the game. So there was a few games where I played all 7 front positions in one game.
Oh wow!
They put me in a mismatch situation, but then every time I had to move, that meant somebody else had to move. So everybody had to be real smart, real flexible, but not. I mean, we played in the Super Bowl one year when we had one guy in the Pro Bowl, and he was there because somebody else didn't go. Sammy Winder was an alternate, and he got to go. And we played in the Super Bowl, and it was because we were a very good team, and we did a lot of things that other teams didn't do. One of the problems with that is when another really good team has 2 weeks to prepare for you, they're going to figure you out, and they figured us out, and they took care of the few challenges that they faced with us, and we didn't play as well as we could have either. There were lots of reasons, but it was good to play in the Super Bowl. It was that's what you think about as a 10-year-old, out there playing Pop Warner, you want to get to that big game, and the chance to play in it 3 times, and I've gone to it many, many, many times since. And it's a game. You go out there, the ball bounces funny. It's a funny shaped ball. It'll bounce funny on you, and things happen that you don't expect to happen. Great players don't play well, and guys that aren't that good all of a sudden shine, and you don't know. You got to get there to win it, and we had our chances, but we didn't get it done. He's definitely had some great teams, and unfortunately weren't able to finish things off. But those AFC Championship games were very exciting, very great games, and some great efforts that you guys put in to make it to the big game. So even a lot of players don't even get the chance to play in the Super Bowl. So for you guys, 3 times, a great accomplishment. Yeah. No, it was special to, and those guys that how it is with a team sport like football to struggle and battle and fight, and each team was very different. You got different guys rising up, and different guys, are off and gone, and to have that opportunity to get to that point 3 times was really special. Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. All right, so they did eventually win a Super Bowl after retiring, and just wondering if you were able to be a part of that. Were you at the games, or did you feel the victory for those? Yeah, I was at the game for sure. It was like a piano was lifted off my back. All of a sudden, we're not the Minnesota Vikings or the Buffalo Bills. We're the champions. So it was, that was unbelievable. And I still knew a lot of the guys on the team. I knew the coaching staff. I knew, it was a very special time. And then to do it twice in a row, the way they did, what an unbelievable accomplishment, and a great way for John Elway to end his career, and a lot of the older guys that I had played with, like I said, were still around and able to enjoy that. Yeah, definitely. So you played in for one of the great defenses with the nickname the Orange Crush.
how'd that nickname come about? Who's the one that orchestrated the nickname?
Wow, I don't know. That was long before I got there. I played with some of the Orange Crush guys at the end. Orange Crush is a soda pop, and somebody came up with it, and I got no idea. I think it was an advertising ploy, but somehow it made a difference. And yeah, what a great group of guys. I mean, when I got there as a rookie, we had 13 rookies make the team that year.
13. Oh, wow.
13 rookie. I mean, it was a downright purge, right? They had a bad year the year before, and they let a bunch of guys go, and so we got 13 rookies on this team, a lot like the team this year for the Denver Broncos. A bunch of young guys coming in, and instead of approaching it with a sense of regret and anger that we had taken their old teammates' jobs, these older veterans really stood up. Guys like Barney Chavis, Reuben Carter, Randy Gradishar, Tom Jackson, Louis Wright, Steve Foley, these guys that had been to the Super Bowl earlier in 77. That were still there, part of that Orange Crush group. They really took us under their wings and understood that our success was their success. This is who we got, and we've got to embrace them and teach them the ropes. And really, in a lot of ways, they taught us not only how to be professional football players, but how to be men. I mean, it's like, I mean, you're 21 years old going, all of a sudden you're on your own and you're out there and you don't have a coach looking over your shoulder all the time like you do in college. And all of a sudden, you gotta learn how to pay your bills. And it was funny, that first off season, we had so many guys, that had ran through their money. They only pay every other week during the season. They don't pay in the off season. So these guys were working at the lumber yard instead of coming in and working out. Coach Reeves decided, all right, well, we'll pay you what they're paying you at the lumber yard if you just come and work out. So it was a learning experience for all of us. But that core group is the core group that went through and got won the drive game and won the fumble game and won the championships and eventually won some Super Bowls.
Won Super Bowls, yeah. That's great. So let's now talk about the transition out of football. You played 12 years in the NFL, and how was it like transitioning out of football? Was it something that you were planning for? Is it something that kind of just hit you?
Lyle, I saw a lot of guys that bought restaurants or bars or, started working in the off season, trying to make that transition. And every one of them that I saw doing that cut their career short. It takes so much effort, so much of who you are to be a professional athlete. I think when you split your attention, your focus, you're just going to hurt hurt your sport. So I waited, and I went fishing for a while, just kind of messed around for a while after I retired, and it was my choice. My body was broken down. It had been 4 years since I practiced on Wednesday. My knees were so shot. I had 10 knee surgeries, and it wasn't a matter of whether I could knew what to do. It was a matter of whether I could physically do it. So practice kind of became an optional thing, and it was one of those deals where it was time. That last year I had 3 concussions because I was a step short on everything, and I knew exactly what to do. I couldn't quite get there anymore. So it was time, and my family needed me home too. I had young children, and it was time to be home. So anyway, I gave it up. I had young children at home. I wasn't going to go back to medical school. Got some opportunities to do some speaking, and after a while, my youngest started kindergarten, and so he wasn't at home all the time. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to take on the speaking thing as my full-time career, and I've been doing that ever since. I've been, this is 15 years as a keynote speaker. I do about 40 keynotes a year all around North America. Love it.
Oh, nice.
Get the adrenaline I used to get from football. Don't ever get hurt. It works out really well.
A lot easier on the body.
Yeah. So I talk about teamwork, courage, dedication, desire, honesty and forgiveness, and goal setting, kind of universal keys to success that I learned in the NFL and can apply to businesses and to teamwork as far as change and family and community and all kinds of different groups. And it's been a wonderful opportunity to find a second career that I like every bit as much as I like my first career.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, when you can find something else that you love close to as much as football, because obviously nothing's going to be the same as football, but when you find something that you love and have passion about and love to do, it's a great thing for sure.
Yeah, it's been good, and to make a difference too. You know, I go into corporate situations and go into all kinds of different situations where they're struggling. You know, people. It's interesting because they can look on television and see a football team playing another football team and say, oh, you know, that team wearing the red is playing like a team. They know exactly what a team looks like.
Yeah.
But then they don't look at their own lives and they don't say, oh, well, you know, I'm not playing as a team at work. I'm not playing as a teammate at home in my community. Those things, and my job is to go in and say, you know what, you're a member of a bunch of different teams, and the way you function in a team and the way you function best in the team isn't any different than as in the NFL or in NHL or wherever. You understand the drive, the decision the management has made, and that's your team passion, your team mission, and that's the direction you're all going. And if you can do that together, it's so much easier than trying to do it on your own.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's what I do.
That's awesome. Yeah, football of all the sports is definitely something that I think teaches a lot of lessons in life that translate into the business world. And with your experience in football, being able to share that with those businesses, I'm sure it does a great deal of benefit for them, and I'm sure they're definitely happy to have you come in and speak for them.
Well, it's fun, and I get them laughing, but also I get them thinking too. It's an interesting business. I mean, like I said, I've been at it for 15 years. I'm a member of the National Speakers Association. I actually went to the World Speaker Summit up in Vancouver when they were up there. Had a presentation there. Yeah.
Vancouver, Canada?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah, so I've been around. Actually, spoke in South Africa at the World Speaker Summit there too. Nice. That team. I've got a team of speakers that we call it a mastermind group. We gather and we work with each other on our whatever our problems are. If you haven't ever considered doing that, your listeners, that what a great thing to find a team of people kind of going through the same challenges you are and schedule just getting together and talking about what your challenges are. There's all kinds of people in this world who have already solved whatever you're dealing with. You don't have to reinvent it. You can talk to people and work with it.
Exactly. There's a plan out there already. You just gotta find who knows it and follow it.
Yeah. And that mastermind group that coming in and talking about everybody brings in a couple of challenges they've faced since the last meeting and get ideas from each other about how to deal with that. Nice.
That's great. So for the speaking, do you do just for corporations or who do you
all kinds of different groups. I speak for a lot of associations, corporations. I speak at schools sometimes, at churches sometimes. You can go to my website, karlmecklenburg.com, and you can misspell it a few different ways and still get there. but there's video there, and the internet, YouTube and stuff is full of videos of me speaking. Actually, I had something wonderful happen the other day. My son came home and he said he'd been bragging me up to one of his buddies about my football career. His buddy went online to try to find video of me playing football, and all he could find was speaking video. I was so happy about that. I'm like, yeah, finally it's happened.
Yeah. That's awesome. But I'll have the proper spelling for your website and the links in the show notes, so people will definitely be able to find you and get on there for sure.
and like I said, if they're interested in the book, Heart of a Student Athlete talks about those same keys to success I talk about in my presentations: teamwork, courage, dedication, desire, honesty and forgiveness, and goal setting. Universal keys that apply across the board. And the book's available there too.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll have a link for the book as well. And talk about your book. What was your motivation for writing it? And just to give a little.
Well, yeah. My first interaction with National Speakers Association was at the Winter Conference here in Denver. They held one here. A speaker I had bumped into was actually helping me edit this book. A gal named Dee Durkart invited me to come to this event. So I went to the event, and everybody there is asking me, "Where's your book? You're a speaker. Where's your book?" And I'm like, "Oh man, I got to write a book." So it was about took me about 5 years, but the book's in its sixth printing. It's won some national awards. It's Mom's Choice Award. It's a Mensa Smart Book Lovers Award Book of the Year. And I mean, it's a great book. But it talks about the like I said, it tells stories. Talks about the same concepts that I try to give people, and the real reason behind having a book as a speaker is you've got an hour with this group. You know, they're gonna have access to you for that hour when you're up on the stage and you're giving it your best, but that's only an hour to make an impact on their whole lives. And I'd like to leave something behind where they can say, what did he, when he said honesty and forgiveness, how the heck does that apply to me? And they go back and look it up and read it, be reminded of the story and how it makes a difference in your pursuit of success.
Yeah. When you have the book, they can always look back and go back to that and go back to what they remember from your talks.
All right. And the other thing is, I'm not really doing those shows where you go out and you buy tickets to come see somebody speak. Usually I'm hired by the corporation or by the association. So these are closed events. So people who are interested in learning about my keys to success have a chance to access them through the book.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I said earlier, yeah, stuff we learn in football can apply not only in football but in business life and in life in general. So having access to that for every person is a good thing. So yeah, definitely check that out. Check out Karl's book, and again, I'll have the links in the show notes. So you can definitely go and get a copy and have a read.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right, so we'll just finish off here with what they call the top of the mountain moment. Looking back on your journey through football and making it to where you are now. Do you have any favorite memories, favorite stories, triumphs, or tough times, or anything that you want to share, or something you want to share that can encourage young players?
Yeah, sure. My story of climbing from a high school walk-on to NFL All-Pro, and actually we'll find out tonight whether I become a finalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I've been a semifinalist for 8 years in a row, and tonight is the night where they decide. This is my last opportunity as a modern day finalist. I guess I go prehistoric after this. I don't know what happens, but I go to a different group after this. So this is.
Well, you definitely should be a Hall of Famer. In my honest opinion, you're at an amazing career, and yeah, I'm definitely hoping and praying that they'll vote you in this year.
Well, I appreciate that, Lyle. So anyway, that is, I think, is the core of my story, is that success is overcoming obstacles on the way to your dreams. That if I can leave you with anything, that's what it is. You don't have to be the most talented. I wasn't, definitely. You're not the 310th pick of the draft if you're the most talented. But there are other ways to succeed, and it's all about your focus and your drive, and taking advantage of the opportunities when they come. I was very fortunate in a lot of situations, but in a lot of situations I wasn't. I had injuries, I had things go on that I had to overcome, and to be successful, if you're pushing hard enough, if you're pushing towards those extravagant desires, passions, missions in your life, you're going to run into obstacles.
Yeah,
it's going to happen, and whether you're trying to catch on in the USFL like I did at first with the Chicago Blitz, or the NFL or the CFL, or wherever you're going, there are going to be obstacles, and you need to overcome those to be successful. Nobody gets given a place on a football team. It has to be earned.
You got to earn it. Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, Karl, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a real pleasure and an honor for me to be able to interview you here today. And just want to, again, remind our listeners to please check out Karl's website. And if you're looking for a speaker, definitely get a hold of him. He'll come out and do a great job for you. And also check out his book, which is a great read. And you can definitely benefit from reading that as well. So again, Karl, thank you so much, and I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Lyle. Take care.
All right, Karl, take care.
Thank you for listening to After the Gridiron. If you're a fan of the show, please make sure you subscribe to the show and also leave a rating and review. By doing that, you also help spread the word about the podcast and assist others in finding the show, so more people can enjoy this great content. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, with the links to those being found on the website. Your support is very much appreciated. Also, please visit the resources page on the website for links to our sponsors and affiliates. Their support helps to keep the show running. So go to www.atgridiron.com/resources to check them out. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you when we kick off our next episode.